Hello and welcome to Rue's Life. Today's video is a little bit different. As you can see, I'm still in the house. And I thought I'd make a video today that was quite honest and something that I appreciate when I watch other people's content. I think it's all too easy to show the best bits of our life, and I often have the question asked of me, how do you do it? How do you do it all? You're working full time, you're on the farm and running the farm, you are creating YouTube content, you have a lot of hobbies, and often I'm asked the question, how do you fit it all in? How do you do it all? And sometimes the answer is, I don't. Most of the time I keep the work-life balance, and it's something that I talk about a lot here on my channel. Those of you that have been following me for a long time will have seen when I did my series of Living Your Best Life, my 31-day challenge. And every single bit of information in that, and I will leave a link above to that, but every single bit of information and tips and hints that I gave were all very genuine, all things that I do. But every now and then I lose track of that, I forget, and life takes over a little bit. So we have had a huge amount going on, and between work and home life, and I've lost track a little bit of, what my priorities should be. So what I thought I'd show you today is a real honest look at life when things aren't going as well as they should. So as I say, generally speaking, I keep that work-life balance, I protect my downtime, and I ensure that I have quality, guilt-free time for me to do the things that I enjoy and to relax. And self-care, I've said this so many times, to me self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And I think, it's very easy, isn't it, for people to poo-poo, oh, self-care, mambo, jumbo, whatever you want to call it. But it's so important, and self-care is different for everybody. I think the word self-care can kind of conjure up, luxuriating in a bubble bath and maybe, I don't know, having your nails painted. I don't know, it's different for everybody, but it isn't. Self-care can be something as simple as pausing for an afternoon, staying in your pajamas for a day. There should be no stigma attached to that. Lives have changed so very much, and I think in many ways for the better. Personally, as a woman in my 50s, and being very aware of my parents' roles when I was growing up, that very traditional, dad goes to work, mum stays at home and brings the children up, went to church on a Sunday, went to Sunday school, went to school, didn't watch a huge amount of everything was quite structured, and don't get me wrong, I had a wonderful upbringing, a wonderful education, and some wonderful holidays, and education wise I don't just mean schooling, I mean the education that my parents gave me. But in my lifetime alone, I've seen us change from that very traditional role. You got up every morning and you washed and dressed, and there's something considered quite lazy or slovenly about you if you were still in your pajamas, after a certain hour in the morning, and you certainly wouldn't have opened your door to somebody, delivery in your pajamas. As I say, women didn't have to, but it very much was that women stayed at home, brought up children, men went out to work and earned the money. Everybody washed their car on a Sunday. And I actually love living now. I've watched us go. We were just talking the other day in work with some of my younger staff about, and the look of horror on their faces when I said we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have computers, the internet had not been invented. We used to carry 10 pence in our pockets in case we needed to call home. Life was very different, and there was an awful lot about that. It's easy to look back and remember all the good old days. don't get me wrong, we have advanced and technology is a wonderful thing. Some of the things I think were better for us. Life could have been, for many, a slower pace. We have become a 24-hour society and everybody wants everything now. Even when we first started using email, it was perfectly acceptable that some people may not check their emails every day, let alone every week, and we just responded as and well, almost like when we used to call, at that time, we had this amazing new email, and then proper post became snail mail. But even email, we didn't respond to it. Now, we have our phones, ping, 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 and people expect a response immediately. I just don't think that's necessarily a good thing. But I'm going slightly off piste now. What I do love about living now is that something I haven't really touched on before, it's quite personal, but as a woman who has chosen to be child-free, which was very much frowned upon, and still in some circles, people can't quite get their heads around women who choose not to have children for no other reason than we choose not to have children. It isn't particularly so I can have a career, or so I can do this, or so I can do that. It just was never for me. I love my friends' children, my nieces and nephews, they're wonderful, but I've never been maternal, and I've never wanted children. But we're finally coming to a point where I'm not judged for not having children. I'm not judged for, as women, we can wear trousers, shorts, we can have long hair, short hair. I know there's still stigmas attached to some things. I know, unfortunately, there's still people who are struggling with who they are and what they do. But generally speaking, so please don't jump on this if you're somebody who's new to the channel. But generally speaking, I think it's absolutely wonderful that people who are not your stereotypical man and woman living together, having children, married, anything goes, we can all do, so long as we're not hurting other people, what we want. I hope this is coming across. I know there are still some people who are judged for the colour of their skin, or their gender, or their sexual orientation. And I personally, it's just, we're just human beings. We're all human beings, and we should all be looking out for each other. So I'm getting a bit deep here with this, but what I'm trying to say is, as somebody in their 50s, a woman in their 50s, living in this time, isn't it wonderful that I can have a career, I can live the life I choose to live, and I can grow vegetables, ride a horse, ride a bike, go for, I don't know, I can do anything pretty much that I want to do, and I am not judged for that. And if I am judged for that, I can just bat it away. Society has changed immensely. I know we've still got a long way to go, but the short of it being, I'm very comfortable and happy living the life that I live. I don't judge others, and I hope that they don't judge me. So, a little bit deep, let's move away from that. What I'm here today to talk about is the life that I've chosen is a wonderful life, but as with all of us, because of this 24-hour society, because of the demands that are put on us, sometimes we get a little bit out of control, don't we? Sometimes, especially those of us that struggle with our mental health. Struggle? Is it a struggle? Yes, it is a struggle. I'll be honest. For me, it is a struggle. I suffer with anxiety, and as those of you that have been with me for a long time know, I also have some chronic, other chronic health conditions, physical health conditions. And sometimes life just gets a little bit too much. So when I woke up this morning, my brain was going round and round and round of all the things I had to do. One of the things, I used to keep a pen and paper by the bed, and now I tend to use my phone, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but your phone is generally always with you, and I use the notepad on that to make lists and dump what's in my head out to try and still my mind, and also so I don't forget things, because a combination of getting older, having an awful lot more to remember, but also as a chronic migraine sufferer, one of the things that is affected is my memory, and I get quite frustrated that I can't remember things, so I just make lists. But this morning it was, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do the other, and one of the things that was important to me was that I needed to do some filming, and then I kind of sat around in my pajamas for a bit and thought, I don't feel like doing anything today, and I'm struggling to motivate myself. And then I thought, you know what? Why don't I make a video about that? So today is going to be a very honest, very raw video. I am regularly asked, how do you do it? How do you fit it all in? And my answer most of the time is that, you know, all these things are things that I enjoy and it's just my life. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't fit it all in. Sometimes I don't do it all. Sometimes I just don't cope. And the last few weeks have been particularly full on. So work, as in my job work, has been particularly demanding. I've had less time off. The shifts I've worked have been incredibly challenging. We've had some very challenging cases, not just physically, as in it's a physical job and you're running around and you're lifting, you know, heavy dogs. There's an awful lot to do. It is a physical and a very demanding job, but it's also been emotionally and mentally quite demanding, because I've had some cases that have really taken a hold, with poor outcomes, and you know, you turn it over and over and over, and with each of the difficult cases, there'd been nothing we could have done any differently. We did absolutely everything we could, but the outcomes were poor, and it does get inside your head a little bit. So of course something has to give, doesn't it? Chris has been working particularly hard as well, and he's got a lot going on at the moment. So today, instead of sitting here rambling, I've got a cup of coffee, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what happens sometimes in my life. So yes, you know, I keep on top of the plot and the animals and the land and my life and my job, but sometimes I don't. So I'm going to spin that camera around. So I was just about to I thought I'll start tackling everything, and even before I filmed out on the plot, I will often do a weed and a tidy up before I film. And today I thought, you know what, let's be real. I'm going to show you, warts and all, how my life can sometimes be. So don't judge me. I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope that it resonates with some of you. I mean, kudos to you if it doesn't. If you think, well, I'm living in filth and squalor and I'm a terrible person. But I think that the majority of us get to this point at some point fairly regularly in our lives. So I need to be mindful. I need to get back to balancing work and home life, and I will get there. So I've actually got 3 days where I don't have to think about work. I'm totally switched off. My work mobile is switched off. My work laptop is switched off. I've got my out of office reply on my work emails, and I can absolutely 100% have 3 days where I'm not thinking about work. I'm here on the farm and I don't have any huge commitments. So I'm going to just finish my coffee, and then I'm going to show you around, and yeah, I think some of you might be quite surprised. So let's start here in the kitchen. I've already put some washing in the washing machine, but I have got a lot of dishes to wash. They've just been kind of stacking up. Chris incredibly kindly last night went out and got us takeaway. So there is the remnants of takeaway food that needs sorting. It's still quite cool in the house, and that's one of the advantages of this lovely cottage. Although it's quite cool outside today as well, but the kitchen does stay nice and cool, but that does need sorting. But as you can see, if I just spin you around, I've got a sink pretty much full of dishes, and here is all of our accumulated rubbish and recycling that needs sorting. Apologies, the washing machine is kicking into life. and everything just needs a bit of a sort and a tidy. There is dog hair all over the floor. I need to do a good sweep and mop and tidy and clean. We're just going to hop into the bathroom. My shower cubicle tray is filthy, so that needs a good scrub. The floor also needs a good sweep and mop. This basket here is where we normally store our toilet rolls, and there's one on the toilet roll holder, and then the basket's empty, so that needs filling. I've ordered some, that's one thing I did remember to do. The windowsill is disgusting. Yeah, everywhere needs a really good clean and tidy. I think that's toothpaste all over the towel, or mouthwash, I'm not sure which. So all the towels need a jolly good boil wash as well. But great weather for line drying. And then we're just going to move through the house, and I'm going to show you what a filthy pig I can be on occasion. I need to sweep the floors, the rugs. We have more rugs down now just because Kaylee, our three-legged greyhound, struggles a bit now as she's getting older on the tiled floors. She's great on more solid surfaces, but she does slip a little with her one back leg on these surfaces, so that's why there's rugs everywhere, but they need washing. You can see there's dog hair and dust everywhere. Chris bought me these beautiful flowers. Well, they were beautiful, now they're just disgusting. Crunchy. I don't even want to look. There's probably that horrible green, gungy, slimy water. They were a beautiful bunch of flowers. Probably 5 weeks ago, and they're still sitting there. I've got a bowl of beans that never got sown and need to be put somewhere. There's some jewellery that I've stripped off and thrown in a pot instead of taking it upstairs. You know, it's just an absolute mess. Shoes left instead of being put away. I'm walking through more dog hair and dust. There's a cushion on the floor because the dogs have been pulling them down and then getting hot and kicking them onto the floor. There's a flex out because we've used an extension which I've never put away. There are more flowers dried. I put some sweet peas in a jam jar about 3 weeks ago, so now I've just got green water and dried flowers. My desk, which is normally so organised, is a complete mess. So that's downstairs, and I'll be honest with you, let's go upstairs. It's not much better. There's Kay having a little snooze. I think you passed Kaylee earlier. Sofa surfer. Happy girl. So let's go upstairs. I don't think I've even made the bed. So we're carpeted upstairs. The carpet is disgusting. It needs hoovering. I have, as I say, sorting through the washing, and I have got a washing load on. I haven't made the bed. Just climbed out of it. I haven't even opened the curtains. There's clothes strewn everywhere. Yeah, it's just a mess. Spare bedroom has become a dumping ground. Literally, everything's just been dumped in here. And I mean, miraculously the spare bed is clear, but only because I was sleeping in it in between night shifts. It was just covered in stuff. So yeah, I mean, look at the state of this. Clutter, clutter, clutter. What an absolute tip. So that's the house. And you know what? It won't take me long to pull it back together, and I do find it really good for my mind. You know, that old-fashioned saying, isn't it? A tidy house is a tidy mind. And actually, rather than being stressed and rushing around to get it all done, I will crank up the radio with some tunes or Radio 4. They often have some really good plays on that I can listen to. And I will take my time working my way through. And so the majority of today I'm going to spend just sorting and tidying and getting everything back on track. So let's go out across to the plot, and I'll just show you a little bit around the farm and the plot. Some of the reason that things have slid in the house is that we have had to prioritise things on the farm, such as keeping on top of weed management and obviously the animals, and with the hot water, just keeping them all in the shade and watered has been a top priority. So the animals and work, obviously, you know, work that we're paid for has to take a priority, and that's what's been happening. But as I say, instead of being stressed about doing all this, I will be very mindful. Even things like doing the washing, I actually quite enjoy hanging washing on a line. I have a particular order in which I do it, and I find it a very mindful activity, hanging washing on the line, and then when it's dry, you know, bringing it back in, folding it up, putting it away. I really enjoy that process. You know, getting the dishes washed. Again, it's a mindful process. I don't have a dishwasher, and I quite enjoy the process of washing dishes and then putting them away. I enjoy that process, and I find it really good for my mind, that cleansing almost of the ritualistic processes to get our lovely home back to how it should be. And then of course it's trying to get back to little and often, which generally speaking we do, but every now and then the balance is tipped the wrong way and we end up like this. And as I said, I just thought I'd be honest with you, and I hope that for those of you that get yourselves into the same situation, it just makes you feel a bit better. I thought I'd be, you know, real today and not just show the good bits or the highlights. So let's go outside. One of the advantages living on the farm, away from anywhere, is that I can just hang out in my pyjamas if I choose to, and that's what I'm doing today. So come on, come along with me. Maybe you're in your pyjamas as well. Let's have a pyjama party. So it's a much cooler day today, and I'm just going to walk around. So those of you that saw me sowing my sweet peas this year, they were looking absolutely wonderful, and then of course we had the heat wave and a combination of me not picking them, and we did miss a few days with water, and they're not looking great. So I've nipped the tops off and I've picked a few of the seed heads. There's still some more to pick, and I've been dousing them with water in the hope that I might get a second flush, because they were really spreading up and they were looking wonderful, and I thought we were going to, you know, really have this riot of colour. Don't get me wrong, we have had lots of beautiful flowers and I've been picking them and I've had them in the house, but you can see they are definitely suffering the aftermath of that heat wave and not having had enough water, and not me picking them. Chickens are all doing grand. Let's move over and look at the chickens. Hello lovely ladies. They're feeling much happier now that it's got a bit cooler. So we've got one of the expats here, the only remaining expat. You can see a couple of the Old English game. The others are lurking around there somewhere. I know that there'll be some broodies. We've got a few broodies at the moment, so I'll go and kick those out later. We've got a bit of a pile going on here where we've been weeding and throwing things. That needs to be sorted. But yeah, no, not looking bad. And of course, we've kept on top of their husbandry, so they've got lots of fresh water. They are fed and watered every day and cleaned out. So whilst my own home may be a pigsty, the animals obviously are all kept clean and fed and watered. So let's go across to the plot. The farm, we've been, we had some issues with the tractor, which we've now fixed. You probably just, I think there's a branch in the way. The tractor down there, and then the topper broke, so we're having to do an awful lot of stuff by hand. So that's another reason the actual house has not been a priority, doing housework. We've been out on the farm doing field maintenance, and there's still lots to do. So out here you can see where the cracks in the concrete and the weeds take a hold. Again, we normally keep on top of those, but yeah, you know, I've got stinging nettles growing. We will get back on top of that. It's really lovely and refreshing to have it a little bit cooler. So horses are fine, ponies fine, sheep are fine. Pony's in his little pen paddock at the moment across the way. There he is. Hello, Pony. Just because we have to watch him at this time of the year, not getting too much grass. No sign of the big boys. I have seen them this morning and checked on them and topped up their water. They're in that field up there, but they've probably wandered off somewhere. So you can just see little Pony there. He gets a little bit of hay each day, and the sheep are still in their front field there. So let's go across to the plot. So I haven't got the shed key. I haven't been across here yet this morning. Haven't watered. I haven't opened up. I haven't done anything. But it's cooler, so the race to get everything opened up and watered before the heat was not there this morning. So things on the plot are doing really good. I do need to get some weeding done, and my plan is to get these Californian poppies pulled up before they go to seed, because as beautiful as they are, I don't want a plot that's just covered in Californian poppies and calendula, so I do need to get those up. There are some weeds in some of the beds, but things are generally looking good. Still getting lots of strawberries, and the raspberries are starting to fruit. So let's open up. So I may just open one end of the tunnel at the moment. I'll go and have a look at the temperature. In we go. I mean, it's just great in here at the moment, but there's lots that needs to be done. So let's have a look. Yeah, so it is, I don't know if you can see that, it's 18.9 degrees here in the polytunnel and 15.7 outside at the moment, and it's probably coming up for about 9:45 if I'm honest. So let's have a look around the polytunnel. So this is certainly not my my tour. The proper tour will be coming in July. We are in July. In August. How can it nearly be August? But what I want to show you is the things that I've kind of let go a little bit. So the chard here that I meant to pull up such a long time ago. I mean, look at this. It's nearly as tall as the top of the polytunnel. That just, I mean, I can take some of the leaves from that for eating, but it needs to come up and go to the chickens. And I've got here on the staging, so I did start some more chard. So let's just move these little kale plants out the way. So this is my chard that should have gone in. So that, I mean, it's looking great, but I've got some lettuce there that should have gone into the ground. These are the peas that I've been meaning to plant out, the leeks. So there's an awful lot here. I didn't even finish that sentence. I suddenly got quite overwhelmed. Leek seedlings is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know how they're going to fare, but I will move them. So there's lots here that needs to be moved into their final growing spaces. But there's lots of good things going on as well. My little fan that everybody likes so much actually met with a bit of an accident. I'm not sure what happened. I managed to break one leg, and of course it wouldn't stand up. So Chris has very kindly anchored it onto this little board. So that's why we've now got a board under the fan. I can highly recommend it. I still would recommend it. I'm not entirely sure what we did with it. You know, I didn't trip over it or anything. It was just in the doorway, and when I came it was over and the leg was broken. So whether an animal or something came scuttling in, I don't know. But everything else is looking good. But what does need to be done in here, as I say, is I really need to pull that chard up. I've got lots of bits and bobs that either need to be planted into beds in here because I've got some space, or need to be planted outside. Lots of weeding to be done outside. You can see behind this door I get some grass that grows. That needs to be pulled. And then the other thing that's been happening is this bark chip is, number one, it's slightly different to the stuff that I've used before, And number two, because I've now got it up to the edge of the door, as I walk I'm often pulling some of it in and it's ending up on the floor in here. I have been, turn you around without making you seasick, I have been sweeping it, to be fair, I have been sweeping it, but instead of sweeping it and throwing it back out, it's just become a pile. So each day I sweep a little bit and it ends up in a pile here, so that needs sorting. These trugs need to be put away, these onions need to be processed. Yeah, so not too bad in here. I mean, as everybody that knows me knows, my polytunnel is the one place, even when the house is an absolute poop hole, I do tend to keep my polytunnel nice and tidy. So again, a little bit of weeding to do here along the edges, but not too bad, not too bad. And then I'm going to just take you and show you in the field, so just bear with me a moment. So actually, just before we go across to the fields, I've shown everybody my beautiful new compost system, which if I just lift you right up, you can see there the 3 new compost bays, but actually the old compost bays I never actually sorted them. So here we've just got a big mass of potatoes and compost that needs sorting, and then we've got the bay next to it, which I will leave to rot down. I've still got a couple of trays left over from when I did the wildflower meadow, and I didn't actually finish planting those last 2 trays, and now they're all dead. And then the bit beyond the polytunnel, there's a car going to come and I'm going to let it show you for scale how tall that grass, normally we keep on top of that, and it's an absolute jungle, so that certainly needs trimming. So yeah, these are the bits I don't generally show you on my videos. Underneath the bench there's cobbled box, there's a load of pots, there's weeds. I mean, it's a real mess in this corner. Yeah, it needs sorting. But actually, one of the things I was going to show you, you can see, I'm going to zoom in. So can you see that lovely yellow flower? That is actually ragwort, and although it's a beautiful flower and also is the haven for the cinnabar moth, and the caterpillars from the cinnabar moth live on ragwort and ragwort alone. So whilst I don't mind having a little bit tucked away, maybe under the hedge here, which we usually right at the far end we'll leave a little bit for the moths, where we don't have any livestock, but equally I have to try and stop it going to seed, because let's go across to the fields. So while we're walking, let's walk and talk, eh? Ragwort is actually really toxic, and I have to be so careful. Not so much when it's growing and it's yellow. Livestock tend to leave it alone. I don't know if you heard little Pony shouting then. You can hear us, well, you can certainly hear me. But yeah, it's toxic to all livestock. They generally leave it alone when it's flowering, but if it dries, if it gets into hay, or if there isn't so much grazing, when the horses have been in the field for quite a long time and they've grazed it down before I move them on to the next field, that's when they may want to eat it. And of course, once it goes to seed, it just spreads everywhere. So we have been ragwort picking. I have to wear gloves. I have a rag fork, which is a special tool for helping to dig out those roots, and we do have to just keep managing it. Now this field here, I thought I was on top of it, but actually it starts as a rosette in the ground. Let's go and find one. So again, I've been coming out and doing that. But I need to get out and do some more ragwort pulling. So here we are, look, this is a younger plant, and you can see it starts as this rosette, so you don't always see it until it starts to grow up and flower, so I need to get these out. There's a little clump over here. I mean, it is useful that it is so yellow, and you can see it when I walk around, but I need to come out again and spend a couple of hours walking around the land and pulling up the ragwort, and then we burn it to stop it from spreading. And you know, you may see sometimes where people haven't kept on top of it, and what you can start out with is, there's another little clump there, is, you know, this doesn't look too bad, there's a little bit there, a little bit here, but generally the fields are free. But if I didn't keep on top of these little clumps and I let them go to seed, and that spreads, and then more, and that spreads, before I know it, I'm going to have fields that are laden with ragwort, and I really don't want that. Hello, handsome, you good boy. Oh, pop bang, somebody's shooting something. So, as I say, you know, it's not all that bad, but it's certainly not perfect. And I just wanted to show you guys the reality of my life sometimes. You know, it isn't all perfect, it isn't all beautiful plants growing and lovely harvests and riding horses and going for lovely walks and swimming. And I have been wild swimming again. I think I mentioned in my last ponderings that I needed to get back out and do it, and I have, and I'm actually going again this week. So that's been wonderful. But the other side of that coin, if you will, is that there's ragwort growing all over the land. The topper and the tractor broke, we fixed it, the topper broke. We've actually been coming out, I've been using hand shears to take the tops off things like docks, and Chris actually jacked the lawnmower up, the lawnmower that we use for the garden, and he actually topped a section of field with a lawnmower to take the tops off some thistles, you know, and it's hard work. And I'm sure anybody driving past would think we completely lost it. But the reality of it just being the two of us, you know, we are on a budget, we're certainly not minted, and sometimes, you know, if something breaks, we just don't have the finances to get things fixed, so we have to think laterally. So yeah, we've been pulling by hand, we've been snipping with shears, we've been using the strimmer and the lawnmower to manage these 10 acres, and we're getting, you know, we are just about holding it, but there's a little bit that's got a bit out of control, so next few days we will be getting back in control. Same with, you know, the plot, it's certainly by no means out of control, but if I don't get those plants planted, they're going to die in those pots. You know, my successional pea sowing will not work because the peas haven't gone in. That chard is just, yeah, it needs to come up, and the next chard needs to go in. We need to sort some of the weeds out. I certainly need to have a little blitz and tidy up in the house. The important thing is that, hello you, the horses, the chickens, the sheep, the dogs and the humans that live here are all physically healthy. These guys are super happy and healthy. Chris and I's mental health has not been in the best of states. Our physical health has taken a little bit of a toll as well. But we've recognised it and we're taking steps to get back on track. So I really hope that you're all well. I hope you're staying in control of life. It is a roller coaster, and you know, when things get tough, don't beat yourself up. Baby steps, find ways of making progress. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to stay in your pajamas all day. Don't be afraid to not make your bed sometimes. You know, yes, generally speaking, I like to make my bed every morning, and I think it's a really good way to start your day. But you know what? Sometimes priorities and life just have to, you know, the balance tips the wrong way a little bit. But so long as we recognise it and we take steps to put things the right way, then it's all good. So thank you so much for watching. Not my normal type of video, but as I say, I just felt inspired to share with you a little bit of real Rue's life. Not that the rest of what I show you isn't real, but you know what I mean. So take good care, and I will see you all soon.